Smart 24, driving business.
Yes, we'll be back from that break. It's exactly 9 a.m. You're still watching Smart Means Business. I'm Andrew Barije, and of course, driving your business with the rightful information, both local and international, that I believe it's quite key and instrumental when it comes to decision making and implementation. Well, on that notice, before we proceed with our business insight, like I told you earlier on, I would still love to remind you that the markets on the Zaba platform are already on, so you can participate right now by simply dialing *292#, which is simply the USSD code for you there, and you'll be in position to buy government bonds and securities for a fee of 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Now the markets open at exactly 8:15 a.m. and they'll be running all the way to 3:15 p.m. That is East African time. This is effective Monday up to Friday, apart from the weekends and the public holidays when those markets cannot be accessed. But of course, despite the fact, you have the rest of the days to capitalize and make money, something which I believe is quite key and instrumental when it comes to your financial growth and development. Zaba made this a reality regardless of where you're located, whether you're in the east, west, south, north. Well, as long as you dial *292#, and regardless still whether you have a smartphone or button phone, you can still buy these bonds and securities. And that's why Zabo says confidently, my money, my future. And Oltex East Africa tells you got to do something new for yourself. It is 2023. Well, like I told you, the long-awaited time is here. Of course, being the Youth Month and today being 31st, the last day of this, we decided to really have something to do with the matters of the youth. And, you know, we make up the biggest percentage, most especially in the African nations, and sadly in the developing nations, the youth take a big percentage. But surprisingly, in these nations where the youth take the biggest percentage, they seem to be having issues to do with economic stability and sustainability, something that has happened for decades and decades. Yet we believe that the youth age is the time when you actually have to make things happen. And surprisingly, as generations move on, the youth seem to get much more detached to economic realities, something which actually the past generations didn't really have. And now with me on set is my guest. And of course, that is Evelyn Kasiri. He's actually is a culture change advocate that is for hope for nations. And we are going to be breaking down this matter to see how can we actually bridge the economic gap between the young and the old in this century. Evelyn, you're welcome on the show. Very good morning, and we're grateful to have you today.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, of course, this is something that has been quite of a great concern for over time. We see many youths seem to be detached to economic realities, most especially in developing countries. There is something the old people knew that have not probably, I don't know whether it's the old people that have not met their responsibility, or it's the youth that seem not to be interested to getting to, you know, be informed about economic realities.
I wouldn't say that you would blame the youth entirely. Neither would I say you would blame the older generation entirely. I believe it takes two to tango. It's both the youth have a role to play, and also the adults have a role to play, especially in making sure that the youth emulate them.
Okay.
Yeah, I perceive one of the issues that the youth have faced of late is people to look up to, that they admire. Role models.
Okay.
It feels like as time goes on, role models are few, they are phasing out. So then that means there must be an issue somewhere that causes, you know, role models, especially those case scenario when I was growing up. I remember one of the key people that would look up to so much in Africa was Nelson Mandela.
Exactly.
You know, and now you can imagine as time goes on right now, if you look at the likes of freedom fighters like Nelson Mandela, it's not really much to look up to, you know, because it looks like morals are degenerating by that day.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's so much at play, I perceive, that has contributed in this gap taking place, and it's both on either side. It's the youth have a place to play, and the adults have a place to play.
Okay. Now, probably, if we can look at from the perspective of economic realities, as you speak to the youth out there, what could be the outcome if the trend stays the way it is? And I mean, we are taking a look at 5 years from now, 10 years from now, talking about decades to come, in case the trend actually doesn't change, in terms of having economic realities by then. What could it result to?
Actually, I find it so worrying if at all everything remains the way it is. In my view as Evelyn, I believe so much in doing something new or looking out for something new, for changes.
Innovations.
Yeah, for innovations. And then changes every now and then. Because you realize there is so much at play right now, especially with our youth. Actually, on behalf of the youth, if I'm to speak for the youth, over time, case scenario like how I began, we lack role models. Yeah?
Role models, yeah.
You notice that there is a lot at play. Case scenario, before I even go to others, I'll look at myself.
Yourself, yeah.
Yeah, a lot has changed between the Evelyn that I was while I was in school and the Evelyn that I am right now.
Right now.
And a lot, my decisions have changed, my thoughts keep changing. And then it's interesting that as we grow up when we're in school, that the kind of literature that is exposed to us and the kind of education that is exposed to us literally does not match with the physical world.
Okay.
So you realize what is on paper stays on paper. And now when you come to the physical world, you face the real world.
The real world. And
usually the real world does not add up to what you imagined, what you were taught, what you were raised seeing. So before you know it, there is always a gap. And now what the scenario is, when such a gap happens and most people are left in quagmire and you're literally not sure of what to do, which path to take, the nearest that you can easily pick up is the narrative that is out there. What am I hearing? What am I seeing? What is being played before me? At the end of the day, you're not any different from it. Yeah, so I believe exposure and what literally we put before our youth matters so much, because it dictates what tomorrow will be. It actually also dictates their kind of mindset, how they think, how they behave, how they perceive, and in the end, they're not as far different from what is literally played out there.
Oh, wow, interesting. Do you really think, when you take to observe, do we have stable role models today that these youth can look up to? Probably this could be these entrepreneurs, prominent entrepreneurs, because majority seem to be driven so much into the political side of it, which is okay, because politics, I believe, influences economics in some sort of a sense. But you see, when you get back, you can talk about all these, but when you get back home, you'll have to eat, you'll have to pay rent and all the bills. You find that the politics is not going to help you out there,
Yeah, I would love to link actually that too. Because you notice most people, there are so many people who have been driven into the politics.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because that is the best they could do, but perhaps they are frustrated with what is playing out, with what's going on.
Yeah.
Especially the youth. Case scenario, let me give an example. I myself, I participated recently in Uman MP Kampala in the previous 2021 elections.
Okay.
However, while growing up, much as I have a political background, like in terms of family members, I'm not the kind of person who always wanted to I love leading, but I love leading undercover, back doors, not at the front line. By the time I am pushed to the front line, it is because I feel I need a change. I'm looking at what is going on. It's actually not working for me. Case scenario, me myself, there's just like I said, so much has played out has led us to where we are at the moment. Personally, while I was young, I wanted to be a pilot. I desired so much to be a pilot. So and I pursued my pilot career. Like as I was growing up, the decisions I would make, the kind of courses I would take, the kind of subjects I paid attention to while in school. It's because my desire was to become a pilot. So I made sure the subjects that I thought were more beneficial to me, to lead me to that path, is what I would give so much attention to. However, it didn't work out. What happened? So you realize as you look at our curriculum, O-level and versus A-level, when you're done with O-level, as you're crossing over to A-level, it's like schools select your best done subjects.
The schools, true.
And now imagine I have over 12 subjects I'm doing. So at the end of the day, I'm going to have best done subjects, not really my best kind of interests. And the ones that I love, and because there's too much competition, too much to read, too much to pay attention to, you end up, there are those that are easy to pass, to be honest. There are certain, I'll give an example of history.
History,
CRE.
Absolutely, yes.
You know, there are those particular subjects that are so easy to pass. And then there are the sciences. And yet now at O-level, a child is exposed with both arts and sciences. But ideally, by O-level, someone knows what they want to be even before they join O-level. Many a times, even if you change, there is just too much room to change, which makes somehow the Western culture better than the developing countries. Because developing countries spend a lot of time studying what actually they are not going to need in future.
True.
So by the time I was done with O-level, I get to HSC, I'm doing my best done subjects still. I was still on my path. However, I think this is because of career guidance. That's why I mentioned that both the elderly generation and then the young generation both have a role to play, because it takes two to tango. For succession to take place from the adults to the child to the youth, there has to be a gap that is bridged, that is able to have transparency happen from one end to the other. Now, with my case, by the time I go to campus, I literally didn't know what to do. I'll be honest with you.
Didn't know what to do.
Based on how I had performed and the courses that were available that I could take on. So, but the courses the courses that I had done and the marks that I had gotten would not give me the piloting career I wanted.
The piloting career.
Less I had to take another channel to pursue it, more like starting afresh to pursue it. So at the end of the day, I'm left with just looking at the universities before me and then choosing what is before me. So you realize ended up in business school, ended up doing human resource, but ideally it's because that was what was there available.
Yes.
You just look, more like you by the time you're done with A-level, you look at what is up to take, and then it's like pick and play. This is better than that, then let me opt for this. So you end up doing something because it is what is there.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, that's why you see we have so many job seekers than we have job creators. Why? True. Because majority, by the time they are done with school, they have careers, and they are learnt. They have the papers, they have the knowledge, but they lack the interest. Like when you look deep down inside their hearts, there's no passion. So you realize now you worked in the bank, because when I did telecom, then went into banking. So just like I was narrating my journey through to where I got. So I joined banking. So one time I'm into banking and I loved doing it. In the beginning I loved doing it, perhaps because I was young, direct out of school, and it was giving me money.
It was paying you money, yeah.
But time came and the money that it was giving me could not sustain me. It could not sustain the kind of lifestyle I loved, I wanted to lead. Then I would look at myself, I would look at my future, I would look at the destiny I wanted, and I would look at what is available for me, and I was imagining, okay, fine, if I'm going to stay in this banking world and I'm going to continue earning as the estimated earning rate, how far am I going to be? Let me say 10 years from now. When do I want to retire? How do I want to retire? What do I want to find myself doing 20 years down the road? I was bored. So I am here, I am working, but I'm bored.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
That's why you realize that there are many times you go, let me say you will go to a banking, to a bank, and the queue is so long, and guess what? The teller is playing cards. And you don't know even what they are doing, but they will show you they are so busy. But either they are disgruntled, you know, but it comes from a place of you not wanting what you are doing. And then it takes responsibility for one to rise up and say, look, I don't like what I am doing.
Yeah.
So if I do not like what I'm doing, then what next? But look, based on the way you were raised and your kind of character and your upbringing and the personality within which you are, it takes a certain level of courage for you to say, look, this is a job I am earning, but to be honest, it's not taking me where I want to be. So for as long as I do not change it from now, I'll never change.
Okay.
So it will keep driving you and driving you and driving you and driving you. I am a satisfied accountant, but ideally by the time I did accounting, because I imagine I started with human resource. Now I'm into banking. So in the banking, I'm like, yeah, but now I'm done with my bachelor's. I want to do a master's. What's the best? I'm into banking, so let me just build the accounting career.
Okay.
You get it?
Yeah.
But then down the road, I'm asking myself, how long am I going? If I'm going to be behind this desk, let me tell you, the things that will satisfy me, Evelyn, is minimum being a CFO of a bank.
CFO.
Exactly. Alternatively, I would want to be either CEO or CFO. Yeah. And then I'm looking at our market, and I'm looking at how many banks do we have, and then I'm looking at how long would it take me to get there.
Okay.
The competition,
period, and
you know, the competition, the availability of jobs, and then I'm like, no, this is not the kind of person I want to be. So who do I want to be? What do I want to acquire? Where do I want to see myself? And then we are growing up, and then the culture, also the culture participates. Yeah. So I perceive there is so much at play, especially for the youth out there, that is not really building the economical side. More like the social is competing with your lives. There's so much at play.
So the social is competing with the economic lifestyle.
Exactly.
Okay, that's very. So does that mean, you know, like what you mentioned, I'm going to be behind this desk for all this long. So you mentioned something about responsibility. Can I say there is that lack of responsibility in today's youth for being responsible for themselves? Like, they are satisfied with what is happening and they are okay with it.
I believe yes.
Comfort zone. Let's say comfort zone.
Yes. There's a comfort zone that has been developed within the youth, and it is being shaped over time. It has not just happened in one night. It's gone on for a long time, and then it needs I perceive the youth need to get to a place where their eyes open, and then you look at the generation that is ahead of you, and then you ask yourself, do I want to be like them?
Do I want to be like them?
Case scenario, you notice these days there are so many who have crossed retirement age, but they are still working.
Yeah.
Why? Because most of them don't know what to settle out for. But you know, you see, in the beginning you asked me something that why are the youth the way they are? Is it because there are no role models out there? No, role models actually are there. But it looks like the role models are few in number. And then secondly, you realize that many a times, just like I narrated the education curriculum and the whole process, you realize by the time someone is out there into business, into employment, into corporate life, they've already chosen a path. And many think because this is the path I've chosen, perhaps it is in line with what I studied, it's what I have to pursue for a lifetime. But beyond pursuing something for a lifetime, usually what impacts a generation or what impacts a nation is it comes from the heart. It comes from that place that is invisible. You notice someone may be doing a business, a small business. Let me say it so, like there are people who are not learned, who are successful.
But they are not learned.
And they are not learned.
Yeah.
You get it. And there are people who are learned, and my friend, they are struggling with their books. We have professors who career professors, but when you look into their life, what do you see apart from teaching?
Nothing else.
And yet these are professors who have books, who are learned.
Yeah.
So you realize, I perceive there is a lot about the narrative, about the culture, about the raising that has to change. Something that has to happen out of the normal to especially raise the youth to a place of what do you want to be? What do you want to become? How do you want your future to be? And then you realize, look, I am responsible for myself.
Okay.
So for as long as I look up to others to change my narrative, to change my way of living, it will never happen. It is just like a cycle. To keep going and going and going and going.
Wow. You know, lately I was telling somebody, I saw somebody posted, took a screenshot of a status, and it was showing what is trending in Uganda. And I was so shocked and got angry actually. And you see this whole aspect that has been moving on around since last week. Then I told somebody, do you realize that actually petrol is increasing? We had it at 5,080, now it's at 5,382, but I've not seen it anywhere trending around anywhere. Then I told myself, I probably reach a time whereby it is 10,000. I don't think people will pay attention to such so-called viral videos that are going on. And I felt like this is really, because it's the youth that are circulating these aspects. And I mean, you're trying to understand. You see, I look at this in economic terms. This clearly tells you where we are going to be in the next 2 years, if that is a big issue.
You see, I perceive something about the youth, like I was saying, direction matters a lot. And then the other bit about what is peer pressure.
Peer pressure.
You see, you realize when peer pressure takes dominance, people look at what is trending and they pay their attention to it. And then secondly, the youth seem to be so frustrated. I'll be honest. So it's like, because I imagine, like especially during campaigns, I notice the elites don't participate in campaigns.
Okay.
They don't even want to participate in campaigns. In fact, one thing that really got me so, like, I didn't like it, because I couldn't easily fit, was during campaigns, it's very easy to go local if you want popularity.
Okay.
Like, you must play by the games, by the game, the exactly way it is. If you want to trend, if you want to make a name, if you want to get the ball rolling so quickly, you have to move to like, you have to lower yourself to the tune of the population, the majority,
yes.
And you notice, case scenario, me as in Kampala, let me tell you, it is as so, let me say, I was shocked to realize that Kampala has more ghettos than it has uptown kind of proper living.
Okay.
Meaning, the majority of people in the city actually are people in ghettos. These are people who are not learned. These are people who hardly struggle to make a living. These are people who survive on, let me say, 1,000 shillings a day. And now these are the people, the majority in Kampala, and Kampala is the capital city. Now that means these are the decision makers at the end of the day. When it comes to politics, choosing the leaders that are going to go before them, who is choosing them?
Okay.
Because it's them who vote.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the elites, they're in offices and they don't care. More like, even if I'm to vote, so what? Like, I'm going to vote, yes, but then what? What will change? Meaning, it's like you've lost trust in, first of all, knowing that even if I choose A will take precedence. So it's like you're used to a particular system taking place on and on and on and on.
Okay.
And then you realize you're powerless. So more like, no wonder the trend of freedom fighters, people power comes in and it trends and runs. More like, it's like an ideology of telling you, look, I'm giving you the power, but ideally the truth is you don't have the power. True. It's just soothing. It feels good to hear. It feels good to associate with it. But at the end of the day, it has no result. Not that the results are not there, but even if the results were to be there, they can't impact a single thing. Why? Because it's like we have a system that is running, that has taken precedence. And now, because of what is happening, it's like so much has gone on. Either it has gone wrong, So some places it has gone right, but if you were to weigh the biggest percentage, by the time you realize the youth are more interested in politics than they are interested in economics and all these other details of the nation, because there's so much that builds a nation. It's not only politics. The only difference with politics is because you're decision makers, but it's because you realize they also know that it's the easiest way to make money is through politics. Number one.
Oh, it's a mindset which has...
Exactly. Okay. Number two, the easiest way to make a name and die with a name is politics. Number three, whether you're learned or you're not learned, you can still participate in politics.
Okay.
And yet at the end of the day, these are the legislatures of this nation. So whatever it is that they are putting to table will govern both the learned and the unlearned. Now imagine a scenario whereby the unlearned have the highest percentage to get into power and govern their land. What do you expect?
It's quite hard to assume what kind of scenario we can have at that moment.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, so I perceive, just like you said, in the beginning you asked, do we have role models? Yes, we actually do have role models. But we have a gap.
We have a gap.
Yeah, we have, between the role models and the successors, there has to be a succession plan, a transparency, whereby you look at someone, you love that person, you want to be like them, and then you just pursue that path of being like them. Now, when you look at, I perceive one of the things that would easily cause transparency of succession plans, whereby we have role models and we easily have youth that are into hotel industry, that are into banking, and they are really performing so well, that are into all over the place, into minerals, and they're performing well. One, it comes from a place of, I love this, I desire this, I want to do it. And now from that place, the next thing is, how do I get there?
Okay.
So you realize that one of the things that easily causes succession to take place is honor. When you love someone, you'll want to be like them.
You be like them.
When you love someone, let me say, when you love someone, you admire them, you love their way of living, you just love them. Something about them makes you want to be like them. Now the question is, if you see the majority of the youth are becoming a certain character, that means that character has taken more precedence than the one that would actually override it. So you realize, imagine the unlearned are gaining popularity, they are gaining the voice, they are gaining the narrative, and it's what is out there. What do you expect? Meaning, out of 100, 80% of the unlearned youth are looking at this unlearned leader, and they are loving their ways of work, everything. So at the end of the day, what's there to look up? No wonder fuel prices are going high, but guess what? We're focusing on DNA.
Well, I think when it's exactly 27 minutes past 9, it's quite a very interesting conversations in here. We're going to take a short break, and of course I'm still with Evelyn Kasiri. We are breaking down these matters of how we can actually bridge the gap between the youth and the elderly, because we know these are the future for the nation when it comes to impacting and influencing economic policies in the future.
Smart 24, driving business. Say goodbye to paperwork and travel costs. Now every MTN customer can register to invest in securities anytime and anywhere with Zabu in a few simple steps. Step 1. Dial *292#. Step 2. Select option 1. Register with Zabu. Step 3. Enter your full names. Step 4. Enter your national identification number. Step 5. Enter your national identification card number. In 24 hours, you will receive an SMS confirming your registration. Congratulations, you are now ready to invest.
super fast internet. Oh, it's a super camera. It's a super battery.
One battery phone.
Yeah, it's a super deal. Get the Capote Super from MTN now at a reduced initial deposit of only 49,000 shillings and pay the balance in Pola for as low as 833 shillings per day. Grab this Super Capote deal and get 2 GB of free MTN data every month for 8 months. Get the Capote Super now from any MTN shop countrywide. Everywhere you go, MTN. Regulated by UCC.
In a world where trade drives economic growth and development, Africa is now embracing a new era of intracontinental trade through the African Continental Free Trade Area to unleash its immense potential. Witness the spirit of entrepreneurship as African businesses forge a way into partnership and venture beyond their borders in a single African market. Discover the innovative solutions being initiated and created to address challenges and seize opportunities in sustainable agriculture, renewable energy, and technological advancements. We expand our lens to showcase the efforts and success of economic integration across the entire African continent, from West Africa to East Africa, North Africa to Southern Africa, Central Africa, and even the diaspora, as the tapestry of unity grows stronger with each story we tell. African Perspective, driving business and trade across Africa. Don't miss the African Perspective on Smart 24 every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at exactly 6 p.m. East African Standard Time as we drive business and trade across Africa. Download the Smart Digital app on Play Store and enjoy your favorite TV shows, documentaries, and radio in your palm on the go. Smart 24, driving business.
Yes, we'll be back from that break. It's 28 minutes to the top of the hour, definitely heading into the last minutes of the show. And of course, as we still drive your business in here with that rightful information that is both local and international, because we believe on Smart Means Business. When you kickstart your day with this information, you'll be able to set best for how you're going to run your day when it comes to transactions. Well, still on that note, I'd love to remind you that the market's on the Zabo platform. They are already on, and you can kindly participate by dialing *292#, which is simply the USSD code, which will avail with options where you'll be in position to buy bonds and securities for a fee of just 15,000 Uganda shillings. But of course, you can still choose to invest more than 15,000 Uganda shillings. But Zabo says, well, bring 15,000 Uganda shillings, let us grow together. And of course, as you stabilize, you can invest more. Zabo made this a reality. The markets run Monday up to Friday, 8:15 up to 9:15 p.m. 8:15 a.m. rather up to 3:15 p.m. That is East African time, Monday up to Friday. Apart from the weekends and the public holidays, when you kind of have these markets. For instance, the next public holiday I guess we shall be having is Independence. So we still have it all. We still have tomorrow left as we wind up the week, and that's why Zabo clearly says, "My money, my future," and Alltex East Africa still adds on and says, well, you got to do something new for yourself. It is 2023. Well, with our topic of discussion still in the pipeline in here, how best can we bridge the economic gap that is between the youth and the elderly? Like I told you, I'm still with Evelyn Kasiri. Of course, my guest this morning, that is that she's a culture change advocate for hope for nations, and I was still breaking down these matters. Now we are looking at how can we now bridge this gap actually. Yes, so we actually, before we went into the break, we were still breaking down You mentioned succession plans, and you are mentioning something in relation to honor. As which other ways how can we bridge this economic divide further?
I had mentioned earlier about honor.
Honor, yeah.
You notice with honor, you cannot receive from someone you do not honor.
You don't honor. I agree.
And that is something our generation literally has lost. Yeah. You notice that the youth, few really honor the generation that has come that was before the youth. Yeah. Let me say. The elders, it's like you see them, you want to be like them, but you don't honor them.
You don't honor them.
So at the end of the day, if you do not honor someone, you cannot receive from that person.
I agree.
And I'm a Christian, and you notice right from like the scriptures, you see the scripture tells us if you honor your parents, and if you honor your earthly parents, it is well with you.
Yeah.
And then if you honor your spiritual parents, you live longer. So you realize that there are promises that have been attached to each and everything that we live by. Now, the youth, this generation, it's like I mentioned earlier on, the narrative.
The narrative, yeah.
You realize that let me say the leaders or the models, the role models,
yes,
who have a legacy. It's very easy to read the negativity about them than the positivity about them. So you realize because so much negativity is out there than the positivity it rubs off negatively. And you realize that case scenario, we have so many great leaders, so many people in this nation who actually have gifts that are they are not gifts you acquire. These are gifts that are given. They are more like, I'll call them like natural inbuilt gifts given to you of the Lord. Now this is something that is eternal. This is something that transcends space and time.
True.
But you realize that majority today focus a lot on child or today's event. What is it for today?
Yes.
Like it's a daily thing. What can I have today? Today's meal, today's life, today what is trending now. It's all about now. It's not about tomorrow. It's not about what is yet to come. So because the generation has, and back to the narrative.
Yes, definitely.
So you realize because of the inbuilt of the, let me say, the youth today, there's so much about things that die out tomorrow than things that live for eternity. We honor things that are for a time, a short time. Like the people we celebrate are people who only live for they're stars just for a season, and the next season they are out. So next season you're looking for another person who also lasts for a season.
So we lack models that can actually last.
It's not we don't lack them.
Yeah,
we have the role models.
We do have.
But the narrative that has been set about the role models, there's more negativity than there is positivity. So you realize that majority of the youth don't really want to look at them. Especially I'm talking about people who have gifts that are inbuilt gifts. That these are, let me give an example. Let me say I'll look at anyway, I wouldn't want to mention names because I may mention a name and then to another person they're like, really? So that's what this is what you're referring to. But let me give a scenario. We have people who in business are really so good at business, and most of them, like I said, are not learned.
Yeah, true.
They never went to school, but when it comes to business, you can't beat them.
Yeah.
When it comes to like whatever it is that they're doing, they have a gift. Behind it. And now such a person, it's very easy to have it imparted or transferred from him to another. And this, mark you, has books nowhere in the picture. Why? Because what is in the books and what is in reality does not correlate. So at the end of the day, you're learned, you have your books, but when you come to the real world, you're facing it fresh, it's new, it has its standards, it has its, its standards, and what is running it. And you have to play by that game. So you realize that if at all we paid attention to people with gifts and we maximized their gifts and studied their lives and brought it out with such positivity that people out there can look up to it.
Yes.
Especially the youth, they'll find something to pick. and you realize many of them, it will identify with them. Because let me tell you, if a banker, there is a banker in Uganda that you can look up to and say, this banker,
I love to be like
I would love to be like him. But majority are not known.
Oh yeah.
Those that are known, they are known because of either their political status, affiliations, titles, but at the end of the day, when you look at them, there is nothing to see about them that is out there that you can look up to and want to be like them.
And imitate.
Business, even if it is to come to business, and you see, it's not only limited to local, it can as well transcend the boundaries to international,
regional.
But at the end of the day, it's like this has to be in your face. You see, the things that you hear on a daily and the things that you see, you become like them whether you like it or not. And more like your mind is shaped by the things that you hear. Your thoughts are shaped by the things that you hear. Even scripture says that there's nothing that is living that was made out of the physical. Everything that is living was made out of the invisible. And then he says that wisdom comes from realizing that these things come from a place that is not seen, not a place that is seen. Case scenario, a laptop. With laptop, there's a generation that never had laptops, but someone somewhere picked it from an invisible realm and brought it into the physical realm. Meaning there is something beyond what we see. You know, that is, it would be so good if at all the youth went beyond what they see to what they would want to see. Because the things you would want to see are not yet there. They are somewhere hidden in the invisible realm. But if you pay attention to them, the more attention you pay you give them, the more revelation you get about them. And the more revelation you get about them, that's how you bring them to play. Because ask yourself, our forefathers never had planes. But we have planes today. And planes are into fly over, over spheres. You will not say I went to practice and did this, but someone thought it, someone put it into play. We got engineers, we got serious innovators.
Now we have these innovations.
Now that is the difference I talked about, how we have more job seekers than job creators. Because as time goes on, people lose interest, like your heart is not there. So what is, if your heart is not in a place, what's running you? So back to succession plan. One, we need honor. For you to honor someone, it starts from a place of, do I want to be like you? Because if I want to be like you, then I'll want to know more about you. And in knowing more about you, I'll identify those things that I can, because something attracts me to you. And usually it is something we share in common. So if at all I can find those particular ideologies, it drives me so easily into your heart or into you. And in one way or another, it leads me to you, or even better than you. That is one. Then the other bit is, there are people we have that we should take advantage of.
Our social networks.
Yes, like networks, gifts. Let me give an example. Uganda, I would not want to focus on Kenya, because Kenya has its own, way of it's trying to build itself better. I would want to look at Uganda. Uganda, we have people who are gifted, gifted in all spheres, but we do not take advantage of their gifts. Just scenario like how I mentioned, there are most things that are visible, we are created from a place that is invisible. Now, I am a Christian, and I really love the spirituals. I love so much things that are into the invisible realm. Why? Because perhaps the things that I wanted were never there. Absolutely. So because they were never there, I wanted, how can I bring this into play without ideally copying what is there? Because what I want something better than what I'm seeing. So how can I bring what I want to the plate better than what I'm seeing? And guess what? In my quest and in my journey, like a scenario, my quest and my journey, I met Prophet Elvis Mbonye. It's just like some other person. Me, I met a prophet in a church setting, a fellowship. But another person does not have to meet a prophet. Another one will meet a teacher. Another one will meet an economist. And let me tell you, the Lord has blessed us with all the blessings that we need. And He has made sure they are all around us. And you see, if whatever the Lord has put in me, I may transfer it into, like a scenario, there are people who are hearing me, and there's someone I may bless whom I've never met. But perhaps out of what I've said, they'll pick one thing like this that they will ride on, and and it will just, you know, like they will relate to say, this is what I want, this is what I've always wanted, and they will ride on it. So you realize we are surrounded with gifts. We are surrounded with people. The Lord has literally blessed this land so much. But until we get to a place and start seeing them and start valuing them, because we need to attach value. The moment you attach value, then the Lord will open your eyes and you start seeing what is not seen. Case scenario, me, like I told you, I met Prophet Elvis. Now, I was raised born again. So it was not new to me going to church. But let me tell you, by the time I go to campus, I had so much don'ts that I missed the do's. Don't drink, don't dance, don't happen, don't. So you realize that majority were running out of Christianity because of the don'ts. And then I would sit down and ask myself, but look, who created all these things? Who created that sound? Who created that music? Was it created of the devil? Even the devil himself was created of the Lord. Exactly. Then I realized that, by the way, there's something I do not know. Because there must be something about my Lord that makes me love him so much, that makes me want to serve him, that makes me want to do. Why? I'm like, there's something that is about him that I have not been told, or I have not heard, or I have not perceived. And you can imagine, like I told you, I was raised born again. I have a Catholic background, but I was raised born again. But by the time I go to campus, I was like, Lord, I'll come to church. Yes, I will come to church, but I need to live a life.
Okay.
Yeah. So I get to campus and I just wanted to live my life. And now in leading my life, I would pray, I would do all these things. But let me tell you, I lunch hour, I could not stand them for long. And actually, I could only do lunch hour once in a while.
Yeah.
The likes of overnights, had enough overnights. And now I was in a place where I wanted to breathe. I was like, Lord, now what next? Because when you look at our culture, the moment you're done with school, the next thing they're looking at marriage. You know, besides your career, there's another life you're beginning. So I'm like, now, if I'm to jump on this boat of marriage, I need to have my life prior to jumping onto the boat of what?
The career
of marriage.
has to be set.
But remember, I'm born again, and there were so many don'ts than there were the do's. So I get to campus, and I'm like, you know, I'm so full of the don'ts.
Okay.
So I'm like, I want to do the do's. I'm like, Lord, I know wherever I am, you look for me. You know, because there's a scripture that says that you cannot hide away from the Lord, whether you're in the heavens, on the earth, or under the earth, he will locate you. So I'm like, Lord, you will locate me wherever I'll be. But I want to live a life, like I want to breathe. So I was in a season of breathing. So in my realm of breathing, someone invites me for fellowship and tells me, Evelyn, if I wish anyone heaven, I would show them Prophet Elvis. I'm like, wow, okay. So I'm like, okay, let's hit the road. But remember, I have friends who have taken me to churches, because they know, like being born again, the majority of your friends are literally born again. So you're back to campus, if I'm into churches, fellowships, churches all over the place. Me, on the other hand, I'm living my life, I'm breathing. So in my breathing, the Lord shows me Prophet Elvis. Let me tell you, I went to Prophet Elvis and I've never looked back.
Okay, now, Evelyn, as we wind this up shortly, I think we have about 3 minutes left. You talked about mentioning all these gifts and all that. Maybe you mentioned something still on the education sector. In the last minutes, we can talk about how can a youth use the current education system to actually, for their good, despite in its state that it really needs revision. I know there is a new curriculum that is being revised, but you know, relating it, we've seen honor gifts, but I still believe the education system still has something it can do. In the state it is, how can they make use of it?
Now, the reason why I was driving you to Prophet Elvis was when I met him, a part of me awakened.
Oh, there was an awakening.
There was an awakening. And amongst the awakenings I got, I realized, oh my God, what am I doing? How did I even end up here? okay, fine. If that's how I'm like, no, this is not the life I'm meant to live. This is not the life the Lord desires me to live. Because in him, like the gifts I'm talking about that are natural, imagine this is a prophetic gifting. But in this prophetic gifting, when you meet him, he will awaken the teacher in you. He will awaken the academicians. He will awaken the engineers. He will awaken he will awaken politicians. He will awaken. So in the same manner, I looked at myself. Now here, later on I get married and I start having children, and then I'm looking at, okay, me, I wanted to be a pilot, but what happened along the way, and where am I now? I do not want this to happen to my children. So if I do not want this to happen to my children, what am I going to do different to what is on the table? But let me tell you, the basis of all this came from a gift. A gift. Just like I will tell you, in us, there is something that will draw you to someone. Okay. Now, when you're drawn to someone, in that person, by the time the Lord leads you to that person, it may be an economician, it may be someone, but by the time the Lord leads you to that person, it's because the Lord knows your answer lies in that person. Okay. In one way or another. So immediately I get there, the first thing I'm looking at, my life, everything is changing. That's why I said the Evelyn then and the Evelyn now are totally two different people. Yeah. So in the process, I'm like, no, something must change. If the nation is not going to change the curriculum, then I'm going to dictate the curriculum my children are going to have. Okay. You get? Yeah. So then I'm like, no. I'd say looking at how much am I earning? Okay, fine. And which schools do I want to take my children in? I'm in Kampala, and you look at the best schools in Kampala. And then, okay, how much do they cost? Okay, am I able to pay their fees? Remember, you're paying rent. You want to drive a nice car. You want to take your kids to the best schools. I want. Okay, fine. When will I own a piece of land? Okay. When will I build my own house? Yeah. When will I ever retire to a good business if I'm going to continue following what is here? So I started looking down. I started looking at my finances. I started looking at my spouse's finances. I started looking at, okay, like projecting the future. The future. And asking myself, 10 years from now, where are we going to be? So in the end, I'm like, now things must change. So among the things that I needed to change was, I needed to change the mindset of my children. And in changing the mindset of my children, it had to begin from ground zero. From ground zero. Plus the academics. So I started dictating what they learn, how I literally got them out of school. Okay. I started homeschooling. And the reason I was homeschooling is because I did not want my children to go through all this and end up, not that everyone should do that. Okay. But I was being led by a desire, by a destiny I desired that I wanted. And I started pursuing it, and I started following it. Okay. So in the same manner, I'm happy because at least the curriculum change is creating room for a better tomorrow than our today. That we are today. See.
Okay, very interesting, very interesting. Education here is playing a very, as Evelyn has said, though of course, we're not saying get your children out of the major schools. Yes, still staying there. But of course, when they get back home, now it's holiday season, right? You can sit them down and teach them a skill or something or two and dictate to them, do career guidance for them before they actually receive career guidance from the schools. In that way, we can be able to transfer these realities to the youth, the economic realities as they grow. Let them get exposed to what it means to do a business. If you're a business, you're a parent, you run a business, well, you got to work with them out there as they get to, let this be a part of them. Like Evelyn did, from a childhood age, is dictating what he wants his children to be like. And in that way, we shall have a generation of youth that are going to actually be of great impact to this country, in terms of economy and so many other aspects of life. Well, it's 7 minutes to the top of the hour, and we come to the end of the show today. Of course, a great thanks from all the way we started till this time around as we winding up. But of course, still to remind you that channel 372 on DSTV, channel 320 on GOTV, and of course, you can also get us on free to air. And at the same time, at Smart24.tv Live, that's on YouTube, where you can be able to stream us at any part of the world that you will be at. And also something quite very interesting, you can go to your Google Play Store and download the Smart Digital application. And of course, with this, you will be able to still stream Smart24 TV, regardless of where you will be at located. And also, if you're a business researcher, you can visit our official website at Smart24.tv, of course, with updated facts, research, on so many business policies. That is the right home for you to really find all that out. Well, It's 31st, the last day of the month. Of course, congratulations to those that have been able to make it. And it's quite sad for those that didn't really make through. But I believe the coming month is going to be the best. And we stand with you here on Smart 24 TV to ensure that everything will be okay. Well, be productive for the day. Set your priorities right. Till tomorrow, good morning.
Smart 24, driving business.
Up next on Smart 24 TV.